Hello and welcome to the third Diablo 3 Hot Topics podcast. Today we'll be covering Blizzard implements game creation limit to combat botting, unidentified item exploits, Blizzard's customer service is lacking for the real money auction house, did Blizzard increase drop rates only to nerf the quality of the drop, and my opinion on all the negativity that's going around. In hardcore news, well, there won't be any because the hardcore forums have pretty much turned into a trade forum channel now. So instead, I will give you my opinions on the current state of hardcore. The first topic to discuss is Blizzard re-enabling the limits on how many games a player can create within a certain amount of time. Blizzard did not give any concrete numbers on the amount of games within a certain amount of time. The reason why they're doing this is to prevent botting, which is affecting server stability. Or at least that's what Blizzard says. A lot of forum members have already said that they tried this in D2 and it didn't work. Many of them pointed out that the botters will eventually figure out what the limits are and what the time span is and adjust to it, so botting will always continue. Other forum members also state that this could hurt things like goblin farm running. They tend to be very short and repetitive. So the question is increased server stability worth the restriction on how you want to play? As a hardcore player, I probably would like this change. Topic number 2, unidentified item exploits. So one of the more popular things to do on a third-party website is to sell unidentified items. So what in essence a player is doing is he's gambling that an item is good. The only problem with that is that the sellers right now have a way to actually look at the attributes before identifying the item. So what they do is they would link an item into trade chat. They would grab a string out which will tell them the attributes of that item. So any items that are good, they would identify it and sell it at the real money auction house. Any items that are worthless, they will keep unidentified and sell it at third-party website. So in essence, you're just wasting your money. Once again, there was an outcry from the community for Blizzard to fix this bug. But again, why would Blizzard want to do that? All it would do is drive business to a third-party website. The next topic to discuss is poor customer service by Blizzard for the real money auction house. The links to the post is below. In this, a player tells a story in which he sells an item for over $200 in the real money auction house. He gets email proof that the item has sold. Then he gets a conversation with a Blizzard rep saying that the item did not sell and that it would be sent back to him, but only to have an email saying that it did sell. The last Blizzard conversation was saying that the item was lost and there was no way they can retrieve it. If this is all true, I can't see how Blizzard is not breaking the law on this one. The item sold for real money, which is about $180 after the tax. Blizzard should be responsible for reimbursing the player. If you have used the real money auction house, I suggest you go over there and read the post for yourself. Topic number 4. Did Blizzard increase the drop rate of rares only to nerf the quality of the drop? A lot of players, including myself, have been getting a lot of rares, but none of them have been worth keeping or selling at the auction house. So the question is, did Blizzard nerf the drops? Were they aligning it back to where they wanted it to be? The fact that a community manager has not responded to these posts is not really helping Blizzard's reputation with the community. Topic number 5 is my opinion on why there's so much negativity around this game. And really the first thing I want to say is I actually really like Diablo 3. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I didn't like the game. I enjoy playing hardcore, I enjoy spending my time trying to find loot, I enjoy trying to progress through the game. But the thing is though, this game was way overhyped for what it is. Blizzard did a lot in commercials, they did it in BlizzCon, they did it in conversations with the developers. And then when we got the game, we realized that we weren't getting that highly polished game that we were expecting. Now this happens all the time in the gaming community, in which we get games that are under-optimized, not ready for production, and whatnot. The thing is though, we expect Blizzard to be better. We expect more from Blizzard. And so when we don't get that, you get a lot of forum rage from all the fanboys. But if you think about it, we've been waiting 10 years for this game. And if you look at the credits are 17 minutes long. Everybody and their mother has worked on this game. And I think that's one of the problems, is that there's too many hands trying to guide this ship. I know through a lot of projects that I've been in, enterprise-wide projects, anytime you get that many people together with that many opinions, you can have entire days, maybe even weeks, in which you get nothing done. And this is kind of how I feel what made Diablo 3 what it is today, is that there was just too many people trying to guide this ship. Another thing that really kind of starts, I wouldn't say ruin the game, but it added a new dynamic in which I don't think gamers like, which is the real money auction house. Because you, in essence, can buy power at this point. And that's always been a very big sticking point for hardcore players. They expect you to earn where you are. But with the real money auction house, you can buy power and get to a certain point. Inferno has points in which even buying the best gear will stop you if you don't have the right build or the right strategy to go against some of the champion elite mobs. But it's definitely a new dynamic, and I think that the community in general is having a hard time dealing with that new dynamic. And really, right now, Blizzard has put themselves into a no-win situation. Take, for example, they're going to be changing legendaries. So if they do change legendaries, say they change it and they're going to be really good, do they retrofit all of the old legendaries that are currently in the game, or do they leave them alone? But at this point, that's really a no-win situation. If they retrofit all of the old legendaries that are already currently in the game, you're going to get a rage fest from people that have sold or vendored or auctioned their legendaries for cheap. If you don't retrofit the legendaries that are already in this game, you're going to get rage from people that kept their legendaries hoping to get them retrofitted, or people that are using their legendaries but now there's a better version of it and they feel gypped. So really, Blizzard has put themselves into a bad situation. All that being said, though, all this rage and all this negativity really just means that there's a lot of people that still care about the game, that still want this game to be good, and they're really just looking for a sign that the game's going to head in the right direction because they want to play it. I mean, that's the only reason why the forums are so active. There are so many posts every day, and it's the reason why I'm doing this podcast. Is I'm also waiting for the point in which Blizzard gets their act together and starts putting out content patches, not fixes, but real content patches that will help progress this game into being a great game that could last another 10 years. For hardcore news, this is going to be my opinion on the state of hardcore right now. And first off, I would like to say that if this game only had softcore, I would probably only play through it twice and then quit and probably never play again. I don't find softcore very interesting because after a certain point, the loot grind kind of loses its appeal to me. So what interests me in hardcore, as opposed to softcore, is there is a very unique fear factor. And I'm not talking about a fear factor from the atmosphere or the environment of the game. I'm talking about the fear factor of losing all that time invested into the character. And if you think about it, that only grows the more you play your character, because the more times you play, the better items you get. That only really incrementally makes you not want to lose your character. It's just something that is very unique to the game. There's actually some indie games now that are picking up on this, that are putting hardcore modes into their games, and I find that to be very interesting. So what do I feel is happening in hardcore? I think the vast majority of players right now are somewhere in between Hell and Inferno. And what ends up happening right now is it's turning into a grind fest for gold. Because rare drops, at that point, you really don't find anything that you can use. At least I haven't in quite a while. I can't even remember the last rare drop that I got from a game that I could actually use on my character. Pretty much like all of the loot or all of the gear that I'm wearing on my wizard right now has come from the auction house. And that's a little sad. After 3 weeks of farming, you would think that I would remember something that I got from a rare that I could use, but off the top of my head, I can't really think of one. And that really is a problem. And also in Hell and Inferno, there are really no public games, and if there are, they don't last for very long because a lot of people fear about losing their characters at that point. Because at that point, you probably invested 20, 30 hours into your character, bought, probably several $1 million in gold into your gear already. So you don't really want to join a public game, have it go wrong, and lose a character. And that is by far the biggest problem, and something that Blizzard needs to look at and change for hardcore is to how to make the end game for Hell and Inferno more open again. Because without public games, if you're only soloing, if you're only playing with your friends, that gets repetitive and boring real quick. It's kind of nice to be able to play a quick game with just a bunch of people that you don't know, rather than just solo loot grind when none of your friends are on. That's my opinion. So what I usually find is that I enjoy playing the lower levels a lot more than I do playing like a solo run or a group run in Inferno, because in Inferno it's so tense every single time you get into a fight with a champion mob, especially when you're in a group and they have so much health. You really got to be careful how you handle uh, the fight in a group, even with just two people. So in the lower normal nightmare difficulty, there's a lot of fun because you're leveling your character. You see progression. The loot that drops, you have a much better chance of being able to get something that you'll use, because at that point, items really aren't as important as just being able to progress and level your character. So I just feel that, it's more fun because there are a lot more public games, and you feel a better sense of progression for your character. So in summary, Hell and Inferno, tense but boring, normal nightmare, fun and satisfying. Thank you for listening to the podcast.